Oh, man. Tastes like the Cats are going to the Stanley Cup, baby. Man, just been sitting on my couch, soaking it all in. So happy for my guy, Bob. I'm so happy for Sergei Bobrovsky. That guy is such a good dude. Prepares his ass off. Fans hated his guts. Got paid a lot of money. Went through a ton of adversity. Seemed to have a head coach who hated his guts at one point. Not this year. Paul Maurice seemed to really like him. But former head coaches that were here. And holy shit, dude. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. Since 1996, the Cats, the Florida Panthers, are going to the Stanley Cup. That's crazy, man. Like, they've been a buzzsaw since that Boston series. It's been pretty wild because that's showing the most adversity. But you think about what you took down in like a historically great team in that series. They go up 3-1 on your ass. You claw your way all the way back. You drink nothing but Boston tears all the way here. Then you dice through Toronto, a heritage team. They think they deserve it so much. They're so happy to be this far in the playoffs. They chanted, "We want Florida." They got what they wanted. Top hats and monocles, Cats in 5. And then you take on this Carolina Hurricanes team. You play this all-time epic first game. Seems like you get cheated out of an overtime winner. So you go into the wee hours of the night. 4 mother bleeping overtimes. And you come out on top. So technically, the Cats swept this in 5 games. And they're here. This is crazy. Matthew Tkachuk. 3 mother bleeping game winners in this series. This guy is an absolute friggin' rock star. And the thing that's crazy about it is, like, you had this team that was so good last year. Everybody, I really felt like the one thing that's been awesome about the Panthers is they really, from where they were in past years, which was always just right out of the playoffs, they really were building something over these last few years to put some sustained success together. It's just you weren't, where you saw that they were a couple years ago to where they were last year and getting absolutely slapped by the Lightning, who always seem to own them. And you're left with this crossroads as a franchise of what you're going to do. And they send off this beloved Panther and Jonathan Huberdeau, a team that was run and gun, super fun, tons of goals, tons of scoring. And you bring back this wonder kid in Matthew Tkachuk, who everybody said was amazing. But I'm a hockey noob. I knew the Tkachuk family, but I'd never heard of this. I didn't know how good this kid was. I go to this guy's opening press conference. This Bill Zito's calling him a unicorn. You could see the way Bill Zito looked at Matthew Tkachuk that first press conference. It was longing love. And he's been everything and more and been a great ambassador. He's the loud face for Florida that they haven't had. Alexander Barkov, obviously amazing. Aaron Ekblad, obviously, has been one of the forefront guys, but they're not the most, charismatic dudes in the world. This guy is just like the whole package in not only his production, but his attitude, his bravado, the grit, the tenacity that he brings to the table. And, to think that he's 24 years old and has just been absolutely carrying this team. And especially, the way he just always seemed to come up with the moments in this series was incredible. It was incredible. And he had a tremendous year, and he was basically the ambassador for the All-Star game down here. But you still, this was a dogfight to even get here. And Paul Maurice, nobody liked that hiring. Everybody was like, Paul Maurice, that guy's been around forever, and he's got more losses than everybody else. What are we doing here? And, I'm sitting here yelling because I don't know hockey technicalities. And I'm like, Yeah, why don't we keep Bruno? And then Bruno ends up getting, pulled over on a golf cart trying to use the I used to coach the Panthers card that none of those cops cared about. And to claw their way all the way from barely making it in to on the brink from a historically great team to then just absolutely buzzsawing their way is incredible. This is an incredible thing to see where they're at. But the thing that I find, and as amazing as Tkachuk has been, and Barkov faced his own adversity. Fans were starting to get pissed at him early on in this playoffs. Me included. I'm not going to sit here and act like I maybe put his captaincy on the line on the radio. And I can't wait for tomorrow's show, by the way. I can't wait to party with you guys and everybody calling in and, the Goosies with Leroy. I can't wait. But I had to say something tonight. Throw this up on the channel. But the guy I'm happiest for is Sergei. I really am. And if you guys, you can go back on this channel. You can see all my sit-downs with him. I think I've, probably talked to, I don't know, we've probably done like 6, 7, 8 interviews, maybe 9 interviews. And I'm not a mush, by the way. Hey, Leroy, go to hell. But, first of all, what a fascinating guy to learn about in his first year here. And I'll never forget my first interaction with Sergei, where it was like I was trying to figure out this time. I was like, oh, man, I had just gotten the morning show, and I didn't have to also produce anything. I could do the morning show, be done at 10, and be done. So I had all this time. And I was like, well, what I want to do is I want to start being boots on the ground. And one of the places I thought would be great would be the Panthers. Nobody talks to Panthers. And they got this guy, Sergei, and I heard that voice. I heard that beautiful voice at his intro press conference. I'm like, I want to do interviews with that guy. And he didn't do a ton. Like there's not a lot of stuff out there about Sergei, other than he was awesome in Columbus, that he had shut down the Lightning, he'd won the Vezina Trophy. But there wasn't a lot of stuff out there on him. And, just fascinated to see, like, you see all this gear that he's on. I remember the first time meeting him. The first time I met him, it was in the Panthers locker room at the Ice Den in Coral Springs, and trying to figure out a time when to talk to him. And it was like, hey, so I'm a host of a radio show. He doesn't know who I am. Panthers PR's there. Like, we talked about this, Sergei, but I don't know how much they had talked about it. And, he seemed like, I'll do some interviews. I'm like, well, we're on in the morning, 6-9. I figured maybe I get a call in, And he's like, I don't want to come in. I don't want to call in that early. Mornings are tough. I'm like, well, we would do like 10 in the morning. And you can just tell, like, hey, it's still too early. I'm like, well, we could do afternoon, working around your schedule. And I'm just yammering on. And the guy just hits, like, he looks at the PR person for the Panthers, and he just goes, uncomfortable. I'm just like, wow, this is off to a start. But we eventually worked it out, and basically what I said was, dude, I'll work around your schedule. We'll make this happen. And I remember the first time I sat down with him, I had reenacted one of his photos on Instagram when he still had Instagram. And it was him in a Russian sauna. And he had taught me about that. But he had loved that I had reenacted it. We're doing some silly stuff. We're not talking serious hockey. And I just found it to be captivating, dude. The guy was so routine-oriented. The guy worked his ass off. Obviously had high expectations, came here, a ton of money, and it didn't work out. It was like, I think there was a level of uncomfortability of being in South Florida and moving down here. And then I remember, the next year, things were getting a little bit, more comfortable for him and better. But, like, he had a coach in Quinville who just, like, clearly didn't love the idea of having this guy out there. Because one of the things that's striking about Bob is he's not a big guy. He wear all that gear, yet you don't really understand. Bob is a skinny individual. Like, he is, like 6'1", 6'1", really, really skinny. And this Quinville would always be like, he loved Chris Drieger because Chris Drieger was like 6'4", loved the Drieger Beaver. And he's like, oh, he's big, he's a biggies in that goal. He did that gruff with that mustache. And, it just felt like, all right, he's off. He's rats off a show. Then Drieger ends up going, I think, to Seattle or something like that, to the Kraken. And then you're like, oh, well, is he, he starts settling in that next year. But then they, of course, have, Spencer Knight. You're like, well, is Spencer Knight going to take that gig? Is that going to be Spencer Knight's gig? And, just always felt like somebody was coming for his job. And even this year, I felt like he was playing really well. And at one point, he became the all-time winning Russian goalie this year. He was playing at like a career high in saves level. And then it just kind of fell off. He got sick. And then this Alex Lyons story happens. And, the Cats are clawing their way into the cup. And then you're kind of just riding this hot goalie. And you're like, man, is Bob ever going to play again? Like, what's ever going to happen? And the playoffs turn out the way that they do. And he gets in there. And he's been unfriggin' believable. He's been so effing good. And I'm just so happy for him, man. I'm happy that he gets his first crack at the Stanley Cup. What a playoffs it's been for him. What a run it's been for Sergei Bobrovsky. And what a run it's been for the Panthers, man. Just this entire team, fun personalities. Loved having Lomberg on this week. Badass Radko Gudas, the Butcher. Welcome to the Butcher Shop. Although too many penalties tonight, dude. The whole crew. It's just been amazing, and to see what they've done, to do something they haven't done since 1996, is absolutely incredible. And you'll have a bunch of blowhards out there. Oh, they don't deserve. I saw this Dan Wetzel in his dumbass article. Oh, they don't deserve it. Give me the qualifications of who deserves it, dude. Give me the qualifications. I'd love to know. Do tell. I would love to know who you think deserves it, because I believe it was standing room only there today. Above capacity. That's how many people were there. Throwing rats down on the ice. Kicking ass. Going to the Stanley Cup. Probably taking on Vegas. Which, man, they can complain about markets all they want. If you are media and you're covering a Stanley Cup, give me two better places to go than South Florida and Las Vegas. You tell me you want to go to Calgary, you liars. Awesome, man. Shout out to all the diehard Cats fans. Shout out to my daughter Sophia. First sports love. I remember my first sports love. My first sports love was the Florida Marlins. I love the Florida Marlins. My grandfather, he took me to Miami Arena to see the Panthers. We saw the Heat, but baseball was my first sports love, and my daughter's first sports love was the Panthers. She loved Roberto Luongo. Honestly, didn't like Bobrovsky until year 2 because she was just pissed Roberto Luongo wasn't here. She loved Bobby Lou, one of the greatest followers on Twitter, by the way, and sucks that it's a school night. I really should have just woken her up, but. She, so many games with her, getting my first chance to be a dad at a sporting event that your kid likes, and it's a Panthers game. And I remember I took her to her first couple in Bob's first year. And I remember that, she loved it. We made it through 2 periods. She's 7 at this point. And I remember the next time that we went, the next season, her brother, or later in the year, I think we took her brother, and her brother is her brother at that point is 3, and he could stay still for as long as the popcorn was full, and she never been through a full game. So one time I promised her I was going to take her by herself, and we went. And it was, I think, actually was it the Carolina Hurricanes or the Ottawa Senators? I think it was the Ottawa Senators. And the Senators lit our ass up. 6 goals in the first period and a half. And we had to sit through that game because I had promised her we're going to sit through the entire game. She didn't care that the Panthers were getting their ass kicked. She only cared that we stayed through the entire game. And that's a Goosey's galore moment for me as a sports dad, man. I'll never forget that. So she loves the cats, man. She loves having her foam paw, her those Stanley C Panthers that I had to pay $70 for because they both had to have one. And I had whiffed at the year before, so I had to get them the first game that we went to this season. So they have those now. But yeah, it's really, really cool, man. This is an awesome, awesome night. Shout out all the cats fans out there. And I hope everybody realizes too, like between the Panthers and the Heat and Mike McDaniel banging the drum and just everything that all the feel good that's going on right now in South Florida. The Marlins even having a respectable season. This doesn't happen a lot, guys. I think all who's sports fans, like this doesn't happen a lot. And that's why I laugh at any Yahoo out there or Carnival Barker who wants to go on his keyboard and say that South Florida doesn't deserve this. You don't deserve to write that article, dude. All right? Shut the hell up. Oh, man. Cats are in the cup, dude. They're going to fight for the cup. Crazy.